all right. We aired it out. It's got super thick tires on the T37s. It's literally stopping on the tire. It's not going any further. So it's a really, really, really tight fitment. This is what I meant. What happens is with a solid beam in the back, they have a tendency to sort of go this way, right? So that's how you're able to see how, like, a lot of these Toyotas, this is the way they air it out, which is the red one that we had, which was on 18s. Same kind of an idea where it happened. Like, this is a T37 track setup with really beefy tires. I think he's running 225 45 17s. I mean, that's a lot of beef. This is not definitely a wheel you want to air it out in, especially when this is so close. So it's stopping on the tire. These cars look great when you're, these are authentic T37s actually as well too. But these cars look great on 18s, 19s with a stretched tire, and then they air out really, really, really nice. But it's pretty much stopping on the tire in the back. The front's pretty much average. That's pretty much how most of it is on a 17. That's how it looks like. We can go a little bit lower in the front. There's still definitely adjustment, but I wouldn't. I'd leave it the way it is. It's just it appears that it's not. I mean, it's aired out, but it doesn't look like hella flush, like well, it is hella flush right now, but it doesn't look like it's fully stanced out because of the fact that it's a smaller wheel. It's a 17 with a really thick tire. So this is a really nice sort of a beefy setup. But if he wants to go hella flush, or not hella flush, but if he wants to go more sort of like a stunt setup, he'll definitely need to go with a bigger wheel. But I mean, it's pretty sick. It's a pretty sick setup. So this is pretty much how they sit aired out. On to the next thing. We're going to start working on the trunk, because this is static air. The car is not, also when you actually do the full suspension, you extend the travel of the bag and you air it out a couple times, it will settle a little bit. So you usually get a little bit more of a drop, because this is just with inflating of a shredder valve. So you're not really getting the most truest representation. You'll get a lot nicer representation when you have the load actually aired down for it. This way you really don't have that much of a load. So it's a little bit of a different setup. So I'm going to start working on the trunk setup, and the trunk setup is going to be, so the tank and the compressors and the manifold is going to be in the back seat, and it's going to basically close, or it'll be mounted to there, and then there'll be a nice sort of like a panel that will close it with plexiglass. Then he's going to have some LEDs that will light up the tank, light up the manifold and the compressors. We're going to do like a nice little hardline setup from the compressors to the tank, like we always do, just so he's got a little bit of a bling behind the screen. But most of the panel is pretty much going to go all around here, somewhere probably before the trunk. I will have to figure it out. I'll have to figure out how it sits. And it'll go around here, we'll cover it up, and it'll be probably mounted behind the speakers. We'll cover the speakers. We'll kind of figure out some kind of a panel that will go nice and clean. I'll have to do a cardboard out of it, so we're gonna do that next. So we're gonna wire everything up. So we're gonna get some power from the battery in the front, and we're gonna actually start doing the wiring tomorrow. And once I do the wiring, I'm going to have the wiring, which is going to be the base, in order to connect everything up. Then we're going to do the starlight into the side panel. So we still got quite a bit of ways, but I kind of wanted to lay it down. See, it's already dropping a little bit more in the front as it settles. So, it's okay for what it is in regards to really beefy wheel setup. You can't expect much, right? So, but I like it. I kind of like this setup. And these are authentic T37s. It's like a nice kind of a beefy track air suspension flex setup. It's not really a stand setup, but just kind of what I think he's going for. So yeah, we'll continue on. Okay, some updates on the Toyota Corolla. Started working on the custom trunk setup. So I arranged the management, 2 compressors for the dual pack, did some hard lines, 4-gallon tank. This is all going to be hidden behind plexiglass, and it's going to have some LED, so it's actually going to look pretty sick at night. Haven't started working on the plexiglass for now. Right now what I'm doing is I'm going to be working on the starlights inside the side panels. of the trunk because that's what the customer wanted. I aired up the car. It's got pretty nice height. This isn't even the tall height, but it's pretty much kind of what stock is. Well, this is about 80 psi in the front. It's about 70 psi in the rear. A really cool drive height, and I love these T37s, man. It looks so sick. Pretty good ride height for this car is about 60 in the front and about 45 in the rear. Eliminates the gap. Obviously, this is aired out because what I'm going to be doing is I did a small little alignment check and using, what do we use? I like using the Smart Camber camber gauge, which is right there. I have the hub stands Pro, which are from BBX Racing. And really cool setup. I have the flexibility to get a perfect alignment, and I've been using it on my GTI. I'm using it with my Lexus, and the Lexus is pretty cambered. But just having the flexibility of doing your own house alignments is insane. So definitely highly recommend their products. Anyways, so I measured it. The rear is pretty much perfect. It's about negative 1.5 at ride height. And it's about minus 3.2 on the driver's side, which is too much, and then minus 1.9 on here. So I'm going to align the other side. So that's why I aired it up, because tomorrow I'm going to lift it and I'm going to sort of bring out the camber. And the reason why there's camber is because I have the top camber plate set about middle. But the reason why there's camber is because this car also has adjustable front camber bolts. You know, those little bolts that if you spin them in and out, it's got like a little pivot point, and that pivot point kind of twists the strut in and out, and it gives you a little bit of a plus 2.5, and I think 1.5 and minus 1.5 of adjustment. So it's that one's probably maximum. So I'm gonna have to kind of bring it in between so both of them are kind of equal, and that should straighten up the steering wheel. But I took it for a spin. It drives really nice at those pressures. It's all in the quality of the suspension. But we're gonna go on. I love to talk a lot, and I'm going to poke the little holes in between here and fit the fiber optic wire. I have a conversion here that takes the 12 volt into a USB. We're going to use a power bank to light them up, and I'm going to try to feed both sides to do it up. I already did the Hardlines, which are pretty cool. Mounted it to the back of the seat, so it's looking fire, but it's going to look even better once it's complete. So there's some of the updates on the car.